millions and probably billions of dollars are spent on books, on programs, on online courses. And did you know that 85 to 90% of the people that sign up for an online course never finish it? And then we haven't even talked about the lack of results that are created from these courses. And it's not that the information is bad, and there are probably pretty bad courses out there, but the thing is that information doesn't create transformation. If you look at losing weight, for example, if information and strategies were the key to losing weight, why isn't everyone losing weight? Why isn't everyone in peak shape right now? Because all the information is out there. Do you know how many books are written on the topics of detox, diets, different workouts that you could do? You can even give all your personal information to ChatGPT and you get a complete workout schedule and nutrition plan. All that you need to do is to follow it. So why isn't everyone in peak shape? And it's because information and strategies is not the missing piece to create a change in your life. And this is the thing that everybody online is trying to sell you on, that you are missing information. And it doesn't matter what area of life you look at. It's not only applying to diets and workouts, it's also applying to if you have this storytelling structure, then you'll become successful. If you know this about branding, if you know this content strategy, if you know this funnel, then you become successful in business. So get into my course, I'll give you that strategy, and then you can create the change that you're looking for. But they are guiding you and leading you into the wrong direction because it's not about the strategies. It's about the person that is holding the strategies. It's about you. It's not about what you know. It's about who you are. It doesn't matter what strategy you have. If you don't make a shift on an identity level, you won't create a change. And you've experienced this before, where you know what you want to be doing. You know what you should be doing, but you're not doing it. You can't make yourself to do that thing. Like, why does this happen? And it's because there is this internal conflict with your identity. So that's where the question becomes, how do you make that shift on an identity level? And in this video, I'll share 5 ways with you how you can make that shift. But it's also important to know that this is not a step-by-step process. It's not that you follow the steps and that you think your way to an identity shift. This is something that happens on an emotional level. And that's why people are also not talking about this enough, I believe, because it's way easier to sell you the idea that you need to get this detox and then you'll make the shift. And before I get into the ways, it's also important to understand this core principle because you have some beliefs about who you are and also beliefs about how the world works. And these beliefs and this idea, it needs to die for something new to be created, for a new identity and a new relationship with reality to be created. So this shifting identity piece is a process of death and rebirth. So this core principle applies to all the ways that I'll share with you. So the first way is increasing pain or increasing desire or inspiration when it comes to your goals. So when you look at life and when does someone change, they either are moving away from pain or they are moving towards pleasure or something that they desire. And I wish that I could tell you that simply increase the desire and you'll create a change. But usually what people need is they need to experience more pain about the current situation. So if you look at a relationship, for example, so you've probably been in a toxic relationship before and you knew that this relationship is not good for you. This person is not good for you. This is unhealthy, what is happening, and you experience the discomfort of the relationship, but still you're choosing to stay. Why? Why do you choose to stay? Because the pain of the unknown about the future is far worse in your mind than the pain that you experience in the relationship. So that's why you're staying in your comfort zone, in the thing that is familiar to you, even though it's uncomfortable. And eventually it reaches a point where maybe your partner crosses a line. Maybe she or he crosses a boundary in the relationship and you say, enough is enough. Like you can't take it anymore. Like this is where the pain becomes too much and you break up. And that's when you start creating a change. And it's because the pain became too big. It became too much where you think the pain in the future or the pain about the unknown, it can be worse than the pain that I'm experiencing right now. So that is the catalyst for change. So this is where that moment of pain is an emotional change that happens. It's a catalyst, and the actions and the strategies and the information, it becomes a byproduct of that catalyst. So oftentimes we focus on what are the habits, what are the strategies. But what I'm curious of is, what is the thing that comes before that? What is the moment where you decide enough is enough? I'm going to change, because these strategies and the habits, they are a byproduct of something. And that is the catalyst that you want to look at, that emotional decisions where you say, I'm no longer going to live life like this. And that's why also when you look at, okay, how can I increase the pain? You need to be confronted with your current reality. Don't put your head in the sand. Don't run away. Don't hide from it, because most people don't experience enough pain because they are not confronted with reality. They're just looking away. They're just avoiding the truth. But what if you are confronted with the truth, and not just the actions that you take in this moment, but where will these actions take you 5 years from now if you keep on living life like this? So this is more related to an anti-vision. And then you'll see the pain. Then you see the reality that you are choosing. And do you want to live life like that? And when you come face to face with that truth, that's when you can feel already something moving inside of you. So this is where you need to look for in your own life, either by increasing the desire for something, increasing that mission that you're so devoted to pursuing, or maybe increasing the pain. So look for that emotional catalyst that is creating the change for you. The second way is to put yourself in a situation that forces you to change. And this one is not for the faint of heart. And I also believe that this is the most powerful one, where you put yourself in a situation where you have no other option than to change. And just to give you two different examples, because the one that I share with you, put yourself in a situation where you have no other option to change. What this, for example, looks like is, to give you a personal example, when I was younger, I moved to a different country for the first time. So I got out of a period of illness, and this is where I felt in my body that I wanted to move outside of the Netherlands. So what I did was I opened up Google Maps, I looked at Portugal, I saw Porto. I thought like, okay, that would be pretty cool to move there. And bear in mind, I've never been to Porto before. I don't speak that language. I don't know anybody there. I've never moved to a different country in my life before, but what I did was I just booked a one-way ticket. I booked an Airbnb for a week and I just figured it out. And when you put yourself in a situation like that, all the ideas of who you believe you are or how the world works, like they go out of the window, because I only had 1 week time to find an apartment. Otherwise, I was living on the street. So of course, all these introverted tendencies, people-pleasing tendencies, this social anxiety was gone, completely gone, because the goal became way more important to find an apartment than to live in alignment with this fake identity that I've created for myself. So I was following up with people. I was annoying the hell out of people because I needed to find an apartment. So that's an example of putting yourself in a situation where you have no other option than to change. And of course, this one is very big, but you can also look at a smaller scale, as in, okay, let's see, I want to start running a marathon. And instead of looking at the shoes and looking at the clothes and looking at what is the best training schedule, you can also sign up for a marathon. And now you are forced to create a change, because this is increasing that intensity, increasing that pressure that you are looking for. You need to experience pressure to change. If you are comfortable, you're not going to change. So that's why you need to be looking for these moments where it feels impossible. It needs to sometimes feel like a leap of faith that you're making, because these are the moments that require something different of you. And that's why I want to give you a different nuance to this way, because one is putting yourself in a situation where you are forced to change, but you can also set a goal for yourself that stretches you so much where you are forced to become someone different to achieve it. So this is what I often do with clients when they share their goals with me. They often share goals that are realistic for them. It still feels that they are able to achieve it. So when I challenge them to stretch the goal even more, where they feel like, this is impossible, I can't achieve this goal. Like, how are we going to achieve this? Like, this is the arena that you want to be playing in. You want to be leaning into the impossible, because now the dream, now the goal, it forces you to become someone different to be able to achieve it. That's the reason why you want to set big and bold goals. Not because, oh, I'm going to be achieving that goal. It's because of who you become in the process. But if you set a goal that feels achievable and feels realistic to you, you're not going to become someone different. So this is where you can use these goals to your advantage. What would be a goal that's not too far out there, as in, let me become a billionaire and I'm still a student in school? Like, this is so far out of your current reality that it doesn't feel that impossible to you. It doesn't stretch you. But if it's right outside of your comfort zone, then it really becomes like, oof. Then you feel that excitement, but you also feel that anxiety, as in, I'm not able to achieve this. But then the question becomes, who do you need to become to achieve that goal? And now we start to play with an identity level. Not as in, how do I achieve this? It's not, okay, what strategies do I use to achieve this goal? Who do I need to become to achieve this goal? And now we start playing with the elements that you want to be playing with that actually create a change. Because if you change on an identity level, the strategies will come automatically. All the actions that you're looking for, they will come automatically. But the change needs to happen here first, in who you are being. The third way is developing the character traits that actually create a change. And of course, you can insert so many different character traits right now in this example, but I'm going to use a very powerful one as an example, which is resourcefulness. So what would it look like if you became more resourceful? A lot of people, when they look at their goals and they look at the change that they want to create, they look at the lack of resources that they have. I don't have this certification. I don't have these skills. I don't have this money. I don't have this network. And that's why I can't achieve this goal. That's why I can't create this change. So they're looking at the lack of resources. So this is, again, the actions, the strategies, the things outside of you. But when you look at an identity level, what does it look like to become resourceful? That it's not about what do I have and what don't I have, but it's about I will find a way no matter what. What if you became that person? What if you would develop that character trait? I will find a way no matter what. So this is also the reason why I don't focus on all of these strategies with my clients. Because if I create them as being resourceful, they will find a strategy. And sometimes these strategies are so far outside of the box that they couldn't even think of before, because they didn't tap into that possibility yet, or they didn't tap into that resourcefulness yet. So let's imagine that both of us are standing in front of a building, a tall building, and both of us are playing a game. We're going to be playing the game as in, how many ways can you find to get inside of the building? What most people do when they look at change in general, they only see the front door. I can get inside of the building via the front door. And that's it. So when that strategy is not working, well, I can't get inside of the building. So I can't achieve the goals that I want to achieve. But if we would play a game as in, how many ways can you find to get the thing that you want? So in this case, to get inside of the building. I can get into the building via the front door. Maybe I can get into the back door. Maybe I can get through the window inside. Maybe I can throw a rock through the window to get inside. Maybe I can find a ladder, put it against the building, walk up and see the window, and I knock on the window because someone is working there and they open the window for me. Maybe I can get on top of the roof. Maybe I can find a helicopter and fly to the roof to get inside from the top. And you can see how maybe crazy these ideas sound. Like, find a helicopter to get to the top of the building to get inside. It sounds crazy, but this is where you don't want to create limitations for yourself. If you are resourceful, you will find a way no matter what. So this is where you must think outside of the box. The reason why a lot of people are not resourceful or why they don't change is because they are playing by rules that are just created by them and maybe that are socially acceptable. It's socially acceptable to get into the building via the front door. That's it. But what if you climb whatever, how do you call this? Over the fence. What if you would climb over the fence and you find the key somewhere to get into the back door, blah, 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 whatever it is. So now you start to get creative. And this is how you access that resourcefulness inside of you. So now you are not dependent on resources. You are relying on who you are being. And you can develop these character traits intentionally. Because just like what I did with you playing this game about how do you get inside of this building, it's like this that you start to tap outside of the box, that you start to go beyond the rules that you've created for yourself. And you can put your goal in front of you. Instead of this building example, what do you want in life? What do you want to achieve? How many ways can you find to get to that goal, to get what you want? How creative can you get? And again, this might mean that you need to let go of ideas of who you thought you were, because this might require of you to take scary actions that are out of alignment with the identity that you've currently created. But this is also necessary for you to develop this new identity for you. So resourcefulness is a beautiful example, but what does courage look like? What does conviction and confidence look like? What does devotion look like? You can insert any character trait that you can intentionally develop to become someone different. The fourth way is about becoming aware of the stories that are running you. So the example that I gave in the introduction was you need to let go of the ideas of who you think you are to create space for the new and to create a new identity. But what this process looks like is you need to become aware of what is the identity that I have about myself? What are the stories that are running me? And especially the stories that you have about who you are as a person. I am, and you can fill in the blanks. And this is where you start to work with beliefs. And the beliefs that are the most dangerous are the ones that you are not even considering questioning. So one of my biggest beliefs that I broke free from was I am an introvert. So throughout my life, I've been socially anxious. I've always had a low social battery. Every single personality test that I did, I was an introvert. So every single thing, all the evidence that I stacked was showing me I am an introvert. So this is the identity that I'm walking through life with. But of course, I might have introverted tendencies. So this is already different language. But am I an introvert? When I'm born, am I an introvert? Like, no, of course not. Like, this is not who I am. I have maybe these tendencies. But if I hold on to this identity, I will start to act in alignment with this identity. And that's why these labels are so dangerous. And that's why you want to question every single thing. So what I did when I looked at being an introvert, I didn't want to be one. I was looking at people that were so charismatic and that were so socially free. And I wanted to be like them. Especially when I looked at the dreams that I had, the goals that I wanted to achieve. This introverted personality was not serving me in this. So I wanted to create a change. But that also means that I have to let go of this idea of who I think I was to develop new characteristics. So that's why I'm using different language, as in I might have introverted tendencies, but that also means that I can create and learn these extroverted tendencies. What does it actually look like? What if this whole idea was wrong and I'm actually an extrovert? What if that was true? Because what I eventually started to realize with all these ideas that I've created, as in, okay, I'm in groups with people and I have a low social battery. So every single time I'm with people, I feel drained. So, but when I go to the bathroom, I'm like, whew, I can finally breathe. So why was this happening? It's not because I'm an introvert. It's because I was putting up a performance. Because I was so socially anxious that I thought that I needed to be someone else. Otherwise, people would reject me. Otherwise, people wouldn't like me. So I was constantly putting up a performance. I was constantly acting, which is why I was socially drained. It wasn't because I was an introvert. So, and now I could see the lie in the statement. But you have to be willing to question the statement. You have to bring this belief to your awareness first, and then you can question it. Then you can see the lie in it. So right now I give you an example of I am an introvert, and I could see the lie. I could see that this is not true. Because when I stopped putting up a performance and I started to act in a way that was an authentic expression of me, that's when I started to gain energy from my interactions. When fear was not running the show anymore, which was the complete opposite of what I thought an introvert was. So now I could separate, as in, I could be everything. I could be an introvert, I could be an extrovert, I can have these tendencies, I can have these tendencies, I can develop these skills. So now my whole identity started to change because I wasn't locked into labels. So this is what you need to do with yourself. Where are you creating these limiting beliefs about who you are in your career, about who you are in your relationships? And you need to bring these ideas and these beliefs and these stories to your awareness and question it. And this is why I also highly recommend to get a coach or to go into therapy, whatever is resonating with you, because you can't see what you can't see. You don't know what you don't know. You're blind to your own blind spots, me included. I needed, like these insights that I just shared with you, I needed other people to highlight them to me. I needed other people that questioned these beliefs for me so I could question them myself because I couldn't see them. And that's why even, it doesn't matter. I've been for more than 1.5 decades in personal development, for more than 8 years into the coaching space. I still need other people to show me what I can't see, to highlight these blind spots. So if you want to break through these beliefs and these identities, these old identities like this, you need other people. And you need to seek out the right environments that challenge you on that level. And that also brings me to the last one, which is change your environment. So this is something, this exposure can really help you to make an identity shift, because you've heard it before, you become the average of the people that you hang out with the most, and all of these things that are related to these type of quotes. And yes, they sound cliche, but there is also a truth in this. Because if you look at the people around you right now, what kind of standard do they embody? What kind of identity do they embody? Is it normal for them to drink, to go out, to play video games, to do these type of things? Or do you hang around people where the standard is going to the gym, meal prepping, going to bed on time, having goals, having a plan? All of these things, are these the standards of the people that you hang out with? And that's why you need to have a hard look at your environments. Because where I noticed this the most, when I was younger, I made the decision to invest in a personal trainer. So when I was 15 years old, I invested in a personal trainer, which was a huge investment for me. But this also changed everything for me because now I'm exposed to a different standard. So this is also where I increased not my pain, but my desire. I could see who I could become if I start embodying certain standards. So then I started to work in fitness. Then I started to work as a personal trainer. And when I was working as a personal trainer, I had people around me that were meal prepping, They even looked weird at me. They even started to make fun of me if I didn't come to work or come to the gym with my meal prepped. They were questioning every single thing that I was doing with my workouts. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Why are you using this technique? So it wasn't just mindlessly doing my workouts. I had to become so intentional about why am I doing what I'm doing. So this level of exposure was forcing a different standard of me. And that's the beautiful thing about making identity shifts. Sometimes you don't have to create them all by yourself and internally. When you are exposed and challenged to a different way of living life, that's when you also have a decision to make. Am I going to choose to stay in this old way of living life, the way that I've always been living life, or am I going to accept this challenge? So this is immediately, and you can see how all these points are working together. These beliefs that you have about yourself, about how the world used to work. And now you are exposed to a different way of how the world could work, but are you choosing to live into that reality? So this is where these ways that I share with you, they are different catalysts that you can use for yourself and different emotional catalysts that you can intentionally use. But at the end of the day, when you experience that catalyst, you have a decision. You have a decision to make that you're going to act in alignment with that catalyst. And that's where a lot of people, when they experience that thing, when they're about to make a leap of faith, they don't make it because it's too scary for them. And then they go back to the way that they've always been living. So when you look at this environment piece, seek out environments that challenge you, that are in alignment with the person that you want to become, maybe the goals that you want to achieve. And that's where you don't want to be when you look at the people around you. You don't want to be at the top of those people. You don't want to be the highest performer. You actually want to be the lowest, because that's when those people around you are pulling you up to their standard. And that's how a change as well is forced. Like the change, it doesn't happen like gently. It doesn't happen softly. Like these ways that I share with you, they're also a bit more forceful in a way, because this also happens. Change happens with pressure. Change happens with emotion. That's why when things are calm and peaceful all the time, you're not going to be changing. Something needs to be rattling the cage for a moment for you to be able to make that change. And that's also what I do with coaching. When people come to me and they're living a good life, but they want to change, they have that ambition, I start rattling the cage. I start challenging the hell out of them, because I know that that trigger is necessary for them to create a change. So these are the 5 ways that I want to share with you on how you can create a change on an identity level. And I'm actually curious to see which way resonates the most with you, and also if you know different ways. If you are experiencing and doing different ways on how you can create that change in your life. So thank you for watching.